Good afternoon. I'm David Talbot, Managing Director and Head of Research here at Red Cloud Securities. Our next presenter is John Lewins. He's the CEO and Director of K2 Gold Mining. K2 is expanding its resources and growing production at its high-grade, low-cost Kainantu gold mine in PNG. David, you're going to have 15 minutes to present, and then we'll have a 5-minute Q&A after that. So take it away, sir.
Okay. Thanks, David, and thanks, Red Cloud, for the opportunity to present at the pre-PDAC. Only a few months pre-PDAC. I was planning on being here for it. Now I got to come back again. So we'll start K92 mining, and we'll start as always with our forward-looking and cautionary statement. We've only got 15 minutes, so I'm not going to leave you to read it. I will move on, but it is on our website. So K92 mining, a unique opportunity as we see it. This is rapid self-funded production growth. We've completed our stage 2 expansion, which basically doubled our throughput to 400,000 tons per annum. We are now busy with our stage 2A expansion, which increases our throughput further 25% to 500,000 tons per annum, which we'll be commissioning by the end of this year. And we've got a PEA completed on our stage 3 expansion, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're finishing a DFS on that in the coming quarter. So how have we done it? Significant resource growth. We've increased our measured and indicated 970% since 2017, and our inferred by 63%. We've got extensive near resource growth potential, both along strike and at depth, plus a number of high priority, high grade vein targets. Up to 11 rigs drilling, 6 underground and 4 to 5 on the surface. So this is very much a large tier 1 asset. It's high grade, low cost, as David said. We've averaged about 14 grams per ton since we started commercial production, and our all-in sustaining cost in 2020, $782. We'll be bringing out our 2021 shortly. Outlook for 2022, 890, 970. That's high because we are busy doing a lot of expenditure, capital and sustaining cost expenditure for our next phase of expansion. This is around the mine. We've got a very large land package, 860 square kilometers, that we've just completed a very extensive aerial geophysics survey on, and that's all driven by very much an experienced team with a proven track record. So the strategy has been very much about expanding the Kainantu mine based primarily on Kora. Stage 2, as I said, we've completed, and that gives us around about 120,000 ounces a year production. This year we've given guidance 115 to 140,000. Stage 2A is a further expansion of 25% to 500,000 tons per annum. Capital cost is only $2.5 million for the plant. In terms of the mine, we're really just accelerating some of our stage 3 expansions, so no additional cost there. Stage 3, PEA was done on 1 million tons per annum. We're actually completing a DFS, a definitive feasibility study, on a 1.2 million ton per annum, so 20% bigger. Twin incline, we're already busy with it. It's a 5 by 5.5, a 6 by 6.5. That commenced in the first quarter 2020. That's now over a kilometer in. So each of the two twin inclines over a kilometer in. We just completed a updated Kora resource, and that was released just last week, and also a maiden Judd resource, also last week. DFS will be in the coming quarter, and as I mentioned, looking at throughput of 1.2 million tons per annum, with commissioning in 2024. So as you can see, we have been ramping up production on a quarterly basis since we declared commercial production the first quarter 2018. Last quarter was a record production quarter for us, both in terms of throughput through the plant, mining tons moved, and of course ounces, 20% higher than anything we've done before. And that really was on the back of achieving our stage 2 expansion. Important point, when we look at our resource, you can see that every quarter, I think bar one, we've actually produced more ounces than our resource model says. The average since 2018 is 10% more ounces produced than the resource model has said. So this is really, really robust in terms of our resource. Stage 2A expansion, in terms of the plant, additional filter press has actually already been commissioned and is operational. An additional TC1000 crusher just arrived in country, and that'll be installed in the coming quarter. And then we've got to add some flotation capacity. That's a long lead item. It'll be coming in the third quarter. So looking at the mine geology, and this is a picture of the resources as they were understood when we took over the project in 2015. And you can see there what we call our Kora North discovery hole, KMDD 0009, 5.4 meters, 11.7 grams per ton gold, and 1.33% copper. We drilled that in May 2017 from underground. October 2017, we took out a bulk sample, 2,000 tons. We put it through the plant, got over 90% gold and copper recovery. And by the end of January 2018, so that's just 9 months after drilling that first hole, we declared commercial production, something of a record for an underground deposit, I'd suggest. That's what it looks like now. So basically, we've got Kora covering an area of approximately 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters, and we've identified 2.3 million ounces of measured and indicated, 2.6 million ounces of inferred, and then the Judd resource, we've only just started drilling. And so our maiden resource covers only about 20% of what we cover with Kora, but it is a parallel vein system, and certainly from the surface, we know it has a similar strike length. So this year, a lot of our focus will be on drilling the Judd resource underground and expanding that resource, as well as drilling to the south and ultimately at depth. Looking at the Kora deposit first, you can see measured and indicated 2.1 million ounces, running at 9.2 grams per ton, inferred 2.5 million ounces, running at 9.5. And of course, we've mined some 400,000 ounces plus from Kora since we first discovered it. And since the last resource, we mined almost 200,000 ounces from Kora, running at about 15 grams per ton. Here you can see the resources on the K1 and the K2 veins. So we've got two veins. They're parallel to subparallel, about 30 meters apart. Important point with this resource is that when you look at it and you look at the cutoff, we run it at 1.75 gram per ton cutoff. If you move that cutoff up to 2.5 grams per ton, you'll see that your grades actually increase by about 15–16% from 9.2 to 9.7 in the measured and indicated, but your ounces only reduced by about 5% from 2.1 to 2. Looking at the inferred, you see a similar sort of move, 9.5 to 11.7, so about a 24% increase in your grade for only a 10% decrease in the ounces. So this gives us a lot of flexibility when we look at the mining itself. In terms of Judd, as I said, this is an initial resource, 130,000 ounces at 11 grams per ton in the measured and indicated, 180,000 at 5.6 in the inferred. Similarly, we see that same sort of thing where you can increase your grade significantly with only a small decrease in your ounces by increasing your cutoff grade. In terms of overall, including Arumafimpa, we're over 5 million ounces running at 9.5 grams per ton. That makes us about the third highest grade deposit in the world in listed companies with over 5 million ounces. So this is very much a high grade mine, underground mine. Looking at stage 2, this was from the PEA. So this was at 1 million tons per annum, and you can see very robust NPV5 after tax of 1.5 billion at $1,500 an ounce. At $1,900 an ounce, it goes up to 2 billion. Looking at over 300,000 ounces, all in sustaining costs sub 400 per gold ounce or sub 500 per gold equivalent ounce. 12-year mine life initially, and looking at CapEx, 125 million of pre-expansion capital. I'd make the point there's also 115 million of sustaining capital during the same period. So overall capital expenditure during that period about 240 million. So this is what we're looking at. So this is an underground mine. Unlike most underground mines, you're actually going up into it. So you're going in from the side of a mountain. You can see we've got the existing Aruma Fimpa incline going up at 1 and 7. And there's our new twin incline, which is, as I said, just over 1,000 meters at the end of February in the 5 by 5.5 and 6 by 6.5. Now, we're talking about 1.2 million tons per annum. I'm sure many of you will say, well, that incline is massively over-engineered, and you're absolutely correct. It's designed to be able to go up to 5 million tons per annum with a conveyor system. So we're allowing for a stage 3, a stage 4, stage 5, and who knows. In terms of the targets around, we've got Kora and Kora Deeps within the mine lease, and every hole we've drilled so far at depth has hit commercial grade and thickness, so we don't know how deep it goes. As that twin incline comes in at that lower level, we'll be looking to expand the resource going down dip. We've got what we call Kora South and Judd South. So as you can see in the plan there, going outside of the mining lease and inside our exploration area, we have about another kilometer of strike length of both Kora and Judd, and we've only just started drilling there. I'll give you a couple of results. And then Judd, as I mentioned, we've only drilled about 20% of the area that we have in Kora so far within the mining lease, and we'll be continuing to drill that out this year. And then we've also got Karempe and Maniape. Maniape, historical resource of almost 1.4 million ounces, down to only about 300 meters, has not been drilled for 20 years, never been mined. First results, as I mentioned, in what we call our Kora South. And you can see there, we in the first hole we've got there, we drilled K1, K2, and now we've hit a K3. So 0.93 meters at 36 grams per ton for K1. So that is that's above average for K1. K2, 6.2 at 17.26. That's well above average that we see in K2. And then this new vein, K3, 5 meters at 8 grams per ton, and the hole finished in K3. So that in itself was obviously fairly exciting and beyond our expectations. But in addition to that, we found that incorporating K2 and K3, we actually had a dilatant zone of 36 meters at about 6 grams per ton. And that has a lot of potential in terms of the upside. When you look at Kora, we're talking about a kilometer by a kilometer containing 5 million ounces, which means that 100 by 100, on average, we've got about 50,000 ounces. If you do that same 100 by 100 in that dilatant zone, you come up with just under 200,000 ounces. So this really is quite a great potential for the project in that southern region. And then looking at Judd, you can see that we picked up a J1 and a J2 in the first hole we drilled. It also hit Kora, and that was 1.3 meters at 16.63 and 0.9 at 15.4. Both of those fit within our commercial grade, and that's 75 meters along strike from the edge of the mining lease. And then another 75 meters with the second hole. We hit, again, the J2 and the J1, 2.9 meters at 8.5 and 15.25 at 15.87, one of the top J1 intersections that we've had. Again, a dilatant zone, 66.5 meters at 5 grams per ton. That is the thickest intersection we've ever seen in this system. And again, taking that 100 by 100 meter analogy, we're talking about something that would be around 250,000 ounces per 100 by 100. And there you can see graphically what that drilling has looked like. And importantly, in that first hole, we also identified a new vein about 75 meters to the east, which we call a new vein right now. We haven't come up with a name yet, 3.45 meters at 10 grams per ton. We've never drilled in that area anywhere on the lease. And so that's going to be a target for us going forward. We've just also completed a major geophysics program over the entire 860 square kilometers. This is just a small subset of it sitting around the mining lease. And this is the high conductivity. And you can see here very clearly Judd, Kora, high conductivity going off to the northwest. and then going to the northeast, Maniape and Arakompa. The confluence of that is a porphyry called A1 that's never been drilled, and that's one of our major targets. That was all pretty much expected. What wasn't expected was that high conductivity zone that we see going down to the southeast. That has never had any work on it. And in fact, as you can see, it's one of the most substantive high conductivity systems there. So we are really excited by some of the things that we're seeing from this airborne geophysics. And that exploration target summary just gives you an idea about the number of porphyry and epithermal vein targets that we have. This is, I could show you the geophysics over it, but we don't, because outside of our leases, we do have another few people in there, and we're not giving them a leg up. So that's K92. I hope you find it of interest, and happy to take a few questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, John. Great presentation. So phenomenal gold system emerging here. So let's start with a couple of questions here. Do you expect that Judd vein to essentially look very similar to the Kora vein, you know, geologically, geometrically? And when considering the size of Kora, does that become really a main focus for delineation in the near term?
Well, in the near term, we've got 6 rigs working underground. I can tell you that the plan this year is to have 3 or 4 of them focused on Judd, 4 of them basically focused on expanding the resource. 2 of them will be focused on increasing inferred into measured and indicated, or doing grade control. So the big focus is in the expansion of Judd. When you actually look at Judd, and you go in and have a look at Judd, even our geos couldn't tell you if they're in Judd or they're in Kora. They look very, very similar. Only difference, in fact, is that geotechnically Judd is even better than Kora. And we've actually taken out our biggest stope to date between the 1235 and 1265 level out of Judd. So we've already mined about 25,000 ounces from Judd before we even had a resource on it. So Judd is certainly a major part of our focus, not only within the mining lease, but also going to the south, as you saw from those first 2 holes.
Right. Okay. Now you've got the DFS underway for stage 3. Now let's assume positive results, but when might you expect ramp up for stage 3? And is the CapEx for that expansion completely self-funded?
Okay. So first off, the CapEx for it comes out of our own cash flow. I think we're currently sitting with over 80 million US in cash. We have no debt, we have no streams, we have no royalties or anything at all like that, apart from obviously government royalty. Completing the DFS, as I said, second quarter. But I make the point, the long lead item is a twin incline, and we committed to that already in 2020. So we're looking at early 24 is when we would be commissioning this brand new plant. So it's a brand new plant. So the existing plant will go on care and maintenance, and that will give us what we would call our potential stage 3A going down the track.
Yeah, and depending on how big Judd gets, maybe that's you need to keep that in operation as well.
Well, look, we're also building this 1.2 million. Its design is to be able to double. So in fact, that you can take it up to 2.4 million by adding another ball mill and adding some float cells on the end. So it's very much designed to be able to be expanded.
Okay, sounds good. Down to our last minute, can you maybe settle up with an update on the current climate and geopolitical climate in the PNG?
Well, PNG, we're going into elections mid-year. I met with the Prime Minister and the Mining Minister while I was in PNG. I've just come back from PNG, just come up from PNG. The Prime Minister's office put out a press release that said K92, good corporate citizen, went on to talk about how much corporate tax we paid last year. We paid 65 million kina, which is about 20 million US dollars. I think that made us the second largest taxpayer in the mining space, and we'll pay more than that this year. So from their perspective, we're expanding the project. We've grown from having 100 jobs when we took it over to 1,250 now, and by 2024, 2,500. We get a lot of support from the government for what we've achieved, and for the fact that we're a serious corporate taxpayer. and that employment, but also business opportunities for our communities and all the areas that we're putting money into in education, et cetera, et cetera. While I was in PNG with the governor, I went and opened up the COVID isolation center in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province. That's the capital of the province that we're in. It's a 200-bed isolation center that we funded. And so the governor had me up there to do the official opening of it. And it's the biggest isolation center in PNG. He's very proud of that, very proud of the fact that that we are a contributor and that we're committed to doing more of those things. So from our perspective, both in terms of local, provincial, and in terms of the country, we believe, a really good standing with government, and our contribution is recognized.